In this video, we are going to look at compound interest. And just before we get started, I just want to remind you again how to do mathematics. So first of all, make sure you understand every step as the examples are given. And then it is very important to do the questions on your own before watching the answers, and then mark the answers to identify any problem areas in order to improve on them the next time that you do a similar sum. Right, so an overview of this video, we're going to look at the formula, then how to calculate the final amount, then calculating the number of years. Now what's important is calculating the number of years. The method that we're going to use in this video applies only to grade 12s. So if you are grade 10 or 11, you can skip that section. And then finally calculating the interest. Right, so the formula you should know by now. That is A equals to P and then bracket 1 plus I brackets to the power of n, and the A represents our final amount, the P the principal amount that you start with, the I of course is the interest, and then n the time period. Okay, so let's look at an example on how to calculate the final amount. So in example 5, it says the current annual fees to attend a certain gym is 4,200. Determine the expected cost of attending the same gym in 5 years' time if the fees are increased by 9% per annum as a result of inflation. Give your answer correct to the nearest rand. Now, inflation is also compound interest. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off by writing down our compound interest formula, and that looks like that. And then what I would advise is that we list our values of A, P, I, N, just extracting our data from the question so that we can focus on what needs to be solved. So the final amount is what we want to calculate. Then our principal amount, that is the current gym fees, that is 4,200. The interest rate we saw is 9% per annum. And then the number of years is 5. Okay, so this is quite simple. All we're going to do now is take these values, substitute them into the formula, and type it into the calculator. So you have A is equal to 4,200, and then 1 plus. Now interest, I write as 9 over 100. It's your choice if you want to write it as 0,09 or just simply 9 over 100. For me, it just reduces any confusion. If I just have my percentage, I just simply put that percentage as it is over 100. And then the number of years is 5. Okay, so basically typing that into the calculator is quite straightforward. Then we have bracket, then 1 plus 9 over 100, and then to the power of 5. And that then gives us 6462,22. Okay, so we know in finance we round off to 2 decimal places because that is then our cents. So it's 6,462 rand and 22 cents. Right, now for question 5.1, calculate the final amount of an investment of 25,000 rand invested for 8 years at an annual compound interest rate of 12%. Okay, so compound interest, that's important. So once we identify which type of interest it is, we can write down the applicable formula. So A is equal to P 1 plus I to the power of N. We list our values. Now A is what we want to find, the final amount. The principal amount that's given is 25,000, and then the interest is 12%, and the number of years is 8. So this is quite straightforward. We now just substitute in our given values. We have 25,000, 1 plus the interest is 12 over 100, and then that's to the power of 8, the number of years. Then typing it in. Okay, so our final amount then is going to be 61 rand, 61,899.08. Question 5.2, Nicolene invests 4,000 in an account that pays 3.7% per annum compound interest. How much will she have after 5 years? Okay, so we have compound interest, A equals to P 1 plus I to the power of N. And it seems redundant to keep on writing the formula down, but it just helps you to memorize it and remember it. So then A is what we want to find, P is the 4,000, then I is the interest, 3.7%, and then number of years is 5, so A is equal to 4,001 plus 3.7 over 100 to the power of 5, and we can type that in. Right, so our answer there would be 4,796.82 cents. Okay, so that was quite straightforward, basically just substituting in and typing it in and writing down your answer. Next up, calculating the number of years. So just remember, only this section, the method that we're using to finding the number of years applies only to grade 12s. So in example 6, it says consider a 1,000 rand investment that needs to triple in value by the end of the investment period. How long will it take if it is invested at 8% compound interest? Okay, so compound interest, we're going to start with that. We have A is equal to P 1 plus I to the power of N. Now, what happens is we can list our values and see what is given and what is asked. So we know that the initial amount is 1,000. Now if that needs to triple, we can also know then from that what the final amount is, and the final amount will be triple obviously, which is then just 3,000. And then we are given the interest, so that's 8% per annum. And finally we need to find the number of years. So what we're going to do is we substitute obviously everything in that's given, and we're going to solve for N. So A is 3,000, and then we have P is 1,000, and 1 plus 8 over 100 to the power of N. Okay, so what we want to do here is we're going to use logs to solve for the N value. But before we can do that, I want my base exponent. So the base is everything inside the brackets that applies to our exponent. So I want my base alone on one side, and then the rest. So we're basically going to solve for the base and the exponent on its own, and doing that we just basically divide both sides by 1,000. Okay, this side will cancel completely, this side just the thousands will cancel, so what we're left with is then going to be 1 plus 8 over 100 to the power of N equals to 3. Now once we have like the base of our unknown on its own, we can then log both sides. So what we do is we just say log of 1 plus 8 over 100 to the power of N is equal to log of 3. And we know from the laws of logs that if you have, let's say, if you have log of x to the power of y, one law says that you can take the exponent and put it in front of the log. So this is equal to y equals to log x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this n and put it in front of the log. So I'm going to be left with n log of 1 plus 8 over 100 equal to log of 3. Alright, and then to get n on its own, we simply divide both sides with the log of 1 plus 8 over 100, because remember the log of that is just a number. So n is equal to log of 3 over log of 1 plus 8 over 100. And then we simply type it into the calculator. Okay, so I've typed in first the fraction, and then in the numerator I put log 3, and in the denominator I put log of 1 plus 8 over 100. And that gives us 14,27. So this is now also, if they ask for years, or the nearest year, then obviously it would be 15, because we always round up, because 14 years wouldn't be sufficient to triple your amount. It would be something below 3,000. So that would be 15 if they ask for the nearest year, but let's assume that they ask for years and months. Then you're going to say, okay, we've got 14 years, or 14,27 years, but we can break this up. We can say this is equal to, because we want to have it in years and months, so I'm going to say 14 years, and also plus the 0,27 years. Now what is 0,27 years in months? We basically take this amount, or this decimal value, and we multiply it by 12, because this is just a fraction over here. So multiplying it by 12 would give you your answer in months. So doing that, we just take our answer, subtract 14, and then we'll have our final answer times by 12. So this gives us 3 months. Now remember, we need to round it up, so we're going to say 14 years and 4 months. Okay, so question 6. Mr. Rousseau buys a car that is worth 55,000 Rand. If the inflation rate is 15% compounded annually, after how many years will the same car be worth 70,000 when purchased new? Alright, so compound interest we start with, A equals to P1 plus I to the power of N. We list A, P, I, N, and we extract all the information that they give us. So we know the starting value is 55,000. We know the ending value, the final amount will be 70,000, and our interest is 15%. Right, number of years is what I want to find. So everything we have, we're simply going to substitute in. 70,000 equals to 55,000, and then 1 plus the interest is 15 over 100 to the power of n. Solve for n. Now we start off by dividing both sides by the 55,000. Okay, this side completely cancels. This thousands can cancel each other. Then we are left with 1 plus 15 over 100 to the power of n equals to, then this side will have 70 over 55. Now to get the exponent, when we have a base and exponent equal to a number, we can log both sides if we want to find, or if the unknown is the exponent. So we log both sides, and then we use the log law that says we can bring the n over and put it in front of log. So this is n log of 1 plus 15 over 100 equal to log of 70 over 55. And then the final step is just to divide both sides by the, you can say coefficient of n. Then this is log of 70 over 55 over log of 1 plus 15 over 100. And then we type that in. So that gives us 1,7255. 1,7255. And then to put it in years and months, we'll have 1 here, so this is equal to 1 here, and then just to take the 0,7255 to months, we just subtract the here, and then we're left with the 0,75 months years, which is times by 12, which is 9 months if we round up. So this gives us 9 months. Right, so that was calculating the number of years. Now let's calculate the interest. Example 7. At the beginning of grade 1, Tim's father invests 10,000 Rand into a savings account to pay for his university fees. At the end of matric, there is 98,500 in the savings account. If interest is compounded annually, what interest rate did Tim's father receive? Okay, so compounded, which means A is equal to P 1 plus I to the power of N. We want A, P, I, N. We have the initial amount as 10,000. At the end of the school career, there is 98,500 Rand in the account. The interest is what we want to solve for. The number of years. Okay, so beginning of grade 1, and then at the end of matric, so assuming he didn't fail a year, so the norm is 12 years, so number of years is 12. So now substituting in our known values, we have 98,500 equals to 10,000. 1 plus the interest is what we want to solve for, and the number of years is 12. Okay, so first thing, we're going to work our way towards the I value. That's what we want to solve for. So the first thing we're going to get rid of is this coefficient over here, dividing both sides by 10,000. Then we're going to take the 12th root. We're going to root both sides, and then getting rid of the 1. So first thing, divide both sides by 10,000. And that leaves us with 1 plus I to the power of 12. And then I'm just going to write it as it is, 98,500 over 10,000. I just believe the less simplification I do, and the less is the chance for making a mistake somewhere. So then we take the root on both sides. So we have this root of 12 to cancel out that. So we have 1 plus I is equal to the 12th root of 98,500, 10,000 over here. Final thing, take the 1 over, so that just becomes a negative 1 on the other side. So we have I is equal to 98,500 over 10,000 minus 1, and we type it in. Okay, so this gives us 0,21, and this is now in decimal places, 0,21. And then to take it to percentage, all we do is simply multiply it by 100. Okay, so then for question 7, so 14% or 14,000 Rand is invested in shares on the stock market. After 8 years, the shares are sold for 20,000 Rand. Calculate a compound interest rate that would provide the same return if interest were compounded annually. So compound interest, A equals to P 1 plus I N, and I'm sure you can say this formula now in your sleep. So now A, P, I, N. Then the initial amount that was invested is 14,000. Then the final amount we're interested in is 20,000. And interest is what we want to calculate. Number of years is 8. Let's substitute these values in. So we have 20, 1, 2, 3 equals to 14,000. And then 1 plus interest is 8 over 100. Oh, sorry, no, the interest is what we're going to solve for. That's a mistake. And then the number of years is 8. Okay, now starting to solve this, we're just going to divide both sides by the 14,000. And then we have 1 plus interest to the power of 8 is equal to, now this is easy to cancel. Can't make a big mistake there. So this is then just going to be 20 over 14. Then taking the root on both sides, we have 1 plus I is equal to the 8th root of 20 over 14. And then solving for I, we just take the 1 over. So I is equal to 8th root of 20 over 14 minus 1. Okay, just be careful when you type it into your calculator that you don't put the minus 1 underneath the root. So typing it in, we have our root. So that's the 8, the fraction, and then make sure that you go outside of it by going left. Right, so this is 0,045 559. Okay, and then to put it in percentage, remember we just multiplied by 100. So moving the decimal places 2 spaces, that would give us 4, comma, and rounding it off to 2 decimal places would then give us 4,56%. Right, that is it.